Good evening, America. 11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it.
So while a lot of people were anticipating doom and gloom, they were expecting a new war, some national emergency chaos. Instead, what happened, the liberal media found itself airing nearly 20 uninterrupted minutes of the president addressing the nation, laying out what had been done in the first 11 very busy months of his second term, and previewing priorities for 2026 and beyond. Everybody, and I do mean everybody, thought this was going to be a war announcement, Venezuela escalation, some big dramatic move. The mainstream media spent all day hyping it up, panels speculating. Even some right-leaning media bought into it. Tucker Carlson, Michael Knowles said the signs were there. The expectation was clear. Trump was about to announce something big, and it's probably military. But that's not what happened at all. And that's what makes this so interesting, because instead of war declaration, he gave them a policy address. Nearly 20 minutes of calm, uninterrupted airtime. Nothing about missiles or threats against another nation. Just a breakdown about, yes, affordability, the economy, and the things to come very soon. And the same media that spent the entire day selling fear, they had no choice but to air it. And so in this video, we're breaking it all down, showing you how each side is presenting their case and what it means for the people caught in the middle. Let's start with Scott Jennings.
He spent a lot of last year on foreign affairs to great success, but now we're moving into an election year, and the first line, I inherited a mess and I am fixing it, reminding people that we were in a deep hole, and that's why he got elected in the first place. He is going to have to ask for some forbearance from the American people, but you can tell he does have a story to tell here. Some of it is in the big, beautiful bill. That is the centerpiece of his domestic policy agenda. The tax cuts are good, and he does have villains here. The health insurance companies are a good villain. The Democrats being at an 18% approval rating, that's a good villain. And so when you're going into an election, I think it's got two jobs. One, sell what you're doing, but two, you got to post up against the alternative. The American people just rejected the alternative a year ago, and now he needs them to reject the alternative again. So
yes, and so you've seen and you heard that, ladies and gentlemen. And Scott, I believe Scott Jennings is right in this instance. The big, beautiful bill gets activated next year, which is right around the corner, and that is the centerpiece of what Trump is depending on to help boost the economy, put money back in people's pockets, create more jobs. And so this was an important reminder of, yes, what has been done so far, but also that we're just getting started and there's more to come. And it's important because the mainstream media spends so much time, we know, criticizing the president and making everything sound like doom and gloom, that we need to be reminded of exactly where we were just a few short years ago. And so while many people are, yes, rightfully feeling that things are rough with the cost of living, that didn't happen out of thin air. That was the result of the previous administration. I mean, listen, we had $7 trillion in new spending in 4 years, inflation peaking at 9%, and a border seeing roughly 12,000 illegals crossing a day. Now, I understand why people don't want to hear that when they're struggling in the present day, because it doesn't fix today's bills. That's fair. I get that. But it is a reminder that in just 11 months, the work the president has been able to do when focusing on lowering the prices. And so how did the mainstream media interpret these announcements? How did they react to what the president had to say? Let's take a listen.
Yeah, well, Lindsay, look, the tone tonight from the president was rushed. It was defensive. Normally, when a president calls for network primetime airtime, it's to make a major announcement. We didn't hear any breaking news from the president tonight, but instead he was touting the successes of his policies, trying to convince Americans that they're working at a time, as we've been discussing, when public polling shows that most Americans are frustrated with how the president has handled the economy. But instead of acknowledging the pain that many Americans are feeling, the president claimed that he has been bringing down prices across the board. But the latest consumer price index data shows a different story, showing that inflation has actually been ticking up, with some key categories around groceries, rent, and utilities are actually rising. But the president did preview that next year he's going to be making some major announcements when it comes to housing. This administration keenly aware that affordability is front and center for Americans right now.
I mean, wow. It's hilarious how inflation was at 9% under the previous administration, and now they say it's ticking up. And yes, things do need to still come down. We understand that. But gas prices are, for many people, at a low they never seen in years. Some states seeing $1.99 for gas prices, which obviously helps people out, obviously. And so also, the president spoke about giving soldiers a tariff dividend as Christmas is right around the corner. The checks are already going out. But because it wasn't shock and awe like mainstream media expected, it wasn't good enough. And so now they're upset because he once again outsmarted them. But take a listen to his announcement on those dividends to the troops.
Because of tariffs, along with the just passed One Big Beautiful Bill, tonight I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000, think of this, 1,450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call Warrior Dividend before Christmas, a Warrior Dividend. In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way. Nobody understood that one until about 30 minutes ago.
And so that's good news. Even Van Jones on CNN, who is not a fan of Trump, very critical. He could not even deny it. He's going to give money to soldiers. Listen, that's a good thing. Give some money to our soldiers. It is a good thing.
One good thing was he's going to give money to soldiers. I think, listen, that's a good thing. So that's the only thing I could find in there that I hadn't heard before. And giving some money to our soldiers is a good. One good thing.
And so how could you possibly take an announcement like that and find something wrong with it? Well, apparently there are some liberals, some Democrats who they believe that there is something wrong with it. Take a listen.
And he can promote 1776 costs all he wants and giving out a check. That worked for him the first time. 1776, that's less than a rent check in D.C. I don't even know what the impact of that is going to be. I want to bring.
Now, this is where I think some people get completely disconnected. I understand for some people that amount of money isn't much, but for others, it actually does help, especially when you're talking about around the holiday season. And so for anyone that tries to brush it off or minimize it as a nothing burger, my opinion is wrong. You want to criticize the president on a number of things, that's fine. This shouldn't just be one of them. Helping out households directly isn't something you hand wave away. And that actually leads into the next part of his message, because he didn't just talk about checks. He also went straight at big health insurance companies. He talked about Obamacare subsidies and how for years the money has been routed through insurance companies first, which because of Obamacare, these companies have seen record profits, stock prices hitting all-time highs, while premiums still continue to go up. And so his argument was simple. Why are we paying the system instead of the people? Instead of writing checks to insurance companies, he talked about putting that money directly into the hands of Americans, allowing them to decide how to use it for coverage. Take a listen.
And I want the money to go directly to the people so you can buy your own health care. You'll get much better health care at a much lower price. The only losers will be insurance companies that have gotten rich, and the Democrat Party, which is totally controlled by those same insurance companies. They will not be happy. But that's okay with me, because you, the people, are finally going to be getting great health care at a lower cost.
Now, let me be fair and logical here, because this idea still needs to be detailed out. He didn't do that, obviously. Give it directly to the people sounds good, but the devil is going to be in the details. How much, who qualifies, how it's delivered, what protections exist, and how you prevent price gouging, things of that nature. Because if you don't build it right, you could end up with chaos, or you could accidentally create a new loophole or something just as bad as Obamacare that ends up benefiting the same middlemen again. But here's the bigger point. When you compare to the system we have right now, it's a system that is making the insurance companies richer. Right now, the money flows through the system first. People get help, but it's tied to a structure where insurance companies still control the pricing, the networks, the rules, the fine print. The consumer is basically stuck picking from whatever options survive after the industry takes its cut, right? A direct benefit model, as he's speaking of, is done correctly. It shifts incentives in a better direction. You get more transparency, people see the real cost and make real choices. It also, if done right, creates more competition. Insurers have to compete for consumers who can actually shop. More accountability. If a plan is overpriced or trash, people can walk. the less money getting eaten up before it ever reaches a household. But again, it only will work if it's built with guardrails, and you need rules to stop companies from instantly jacking up premiums, protections for older and high-risk people, and a structure that keeps coverage stable, not a free-for-all. So I'm not saying it's perfect on day one. I'm just saying that the direction makes sense. Stop feeding the machine and start actually empowering the consumer. The reality is, for some people, there's nothing the president could have said that would have been seen as just overall a positive for the nation, that some people would still not find a reason to criticize today. And so that takes us to CNN. Take a listen.
Wah, wah, wah. You know, there were people who loved to hear that. Can I tell you something? You have heard the same thing. There was very little new stuff. You have heard him say the same stuff ad nauseum. I ended 8 wars. It's all Biden's fault. The Democrats made up the term affordability. It's not real. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. Make America. I mean, it's like. But it made him the president.
I know.
And by the way, and at the end, Merry Christmas to all. Really? He's had a couple of very bad press cycles in the last few weeks. I mean, you know, I mean, his inner circle is pictured in Vanity Fair looking like ghouls, and his chief of staff said the Venezuela stuff that's supposedly about
Anna, come on.
drugs is about regime change.
Is anybody in Peoria, Illinois, paying attention to a Vanity Fair piece? No.
And do you think anybody in Peoria, Illinois
no
is
one's
watching
following any of that stuff.
But
we on this table obsess over that stuff.
That he interrupted the Golden Bachelor or whatever.
Look, I'm not a Bachelor fan personally, but look, I see nothing wrong with our president stepping out saying, hey, here's what's been going on over the last year. And by the way, he's had a lot.
The thing about it, though, is that Americans
That's the power of the presidency.
I believe what the president did right here was very calculated as far as outsmarting the liberal mainstream media and having them air this 20-minute nation address where he basically spoke about what he's done in the past and where this country is headed. Very, very calculated move, especially when you know you're dealing with a media that at every turn, they're looking for ways to tear down all the things that he is doing that are working in favor of this country. And so if he can have an opportunity where he can then get in front of millions upon millions of viewers across different networks, because we know there's certain people who are only going to watch certain networks, then that's a good thing. That's a good thing that they had to air it on MS Now, MSNBC, whatever you want to call it. Then they also aired it on CNN and Fox News and ABC and CBS, because now you're getting all different types of viewers, people from all different types of backgrounds who only watch those networks, for him to be able to address and speak directly to those people who otherwise are only getting fed information through the lens of those networks that end up twisting a narrative in order to fit what they want people to believe. It's a win-win situation for him to be able to do that. And one of the biggest things he was able to communicate and announce last night had to do with the big, beautiful bill. And so let's take a listen to what is going to go into effect come 2026.
Next year, you will also see the results of the largest tax cuts in American history that were really accomplished through our great, big, beautiful bill, perhaps the most sweeping legislation ever passed in Congress. We wrapped 12 different bills up into one beautiful bill. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Under these cuts, many families will be saving between $11,000 and $20,000 a year, and next spring is projected to be the largest tax refund season of all time.
Look, I mean, in the new year, we're going to have the big, beautiful bill take effect, and that is going to include not just changes in the tax code for individuals, like you've reported on so much, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no. It's also going to be tax changes for businesses, and small and mid-cap businesses. They will be able to expense things like writing off computers and writing off facilities, and that is a huge thing, because that is going to give a boost to businesses who will then turn around and likely hire more people people and invest in their businesses. So the expensing options are very important to recognize in the big, beautiful bill. That's going to play out. And, you know, Scott Bessent and Kevin Hassett keep saying that in the first half of the year, this is going to be a big tailwind for the economy. Hassett told me recently he would be disappointed with 3% growth. Scott Bessent says we're going to get 3 to 4% growth in the first half. And I spoke with Louis Navellier this week on Mornings with Maria, and he's talking about 5% GDP growth at some point in 2026. Bill, that's a big number.
That sure is.
We are expecting a pretty good performance in the first half as that big, beautiful bill takes effect.
All right,
the Democrats are in big trouble because they have to hope the economy fails. They have to hope people go through more pain and more struggling, and I wouldn't want to really be in that position. But considering where things were and the fact that it's only been 11 months, the president has done a lot. We can't deny that. And the reality is that there are certain things that don't happen overnight. And that's hard, especially when people are already suffering. But unfortunately, that is how it works. So we'll see what the new year brings. What this is shaping up to be heading into 2026 is pretty simple. If people feel good about the economy, by the time the midterms arrive, Republicans will be in a good position to keep the majority. If they don't, then Democrats have a chance. But now let me know your thoughts. Drop your comments down below. As always, the best way to show your support is by smashing that thumbs up, hitting the subscribe, and sharing this video so that way more people see what's really going on. Until next time.